Laurie Ellison from Hudson Valley Bookkeeping. Today's QuickBooks tutorial is start to finish setup of QuickBooks Online for landlords. All right, let's get started.
Okay, everyone. We are going to start a QuickBooks Online file from scratch. So you'll learn every little piece of this. One thing to know, I set up a new email just to set up this account. When you have to set up an Intuit account, so make sure you have an email that you want associated with this because you will get dual authentication codes and things. So you want to make sure it's a private email. Okay. So just search in Google, just QuickBooks Online. I'm going to buy a brand new. Okay, so I'm going to click the link. Okay, so plans and pricing. Let's look at this. I would not recommend Simple Start. It's a little too simple. Well, let's see. Okay, I normally wouldn't buy Simple Start because I like to do things like class tracking and some other things. But honestly, if this is just one, we'll start here with Simple Start and you can always upgrade. So I'm going to select that. No payroll. I'm doing this video for landlords. They're usually LLCs and usually the landlord isn't running payroll, but you could, let's say if you had a super or something. So they're giving me 50% off for the first 3 months. We're not doing a payroll. And look, they're offering live bookkeeping. And I wouldn't want someone from a 1-800 number looking into my finances, but that's okay. Okay. Create an Intuit account. This is where you have to, so I made this email. So make sure you associate it with an email. Okay, I'm going to pause for a second. Okay, I've entered my billing. Okay, so this is the beginning interview. You would click this if you want to bring in desktop data. I'm assuming you're starting a brand new file. I don't really recommend bringing in desktop data. It makes kind of a mess. So it's usually better if you have desktop, you have it on your one computer, you can always refer back. Okay, we're going to set up. Don't link your accounts right away. Click skip for now. For an LLC, it's usually a single member. And see, look, they're not even offering LLC, which is crazy. So just say sole proprietor. It doesn't totally matter. Say real estate. So we want to be able to invoice customers. Let's say looking professional. Okay, this just shows that you can download QuickBooks for your phone. Some of this stuff, QuickBooks is just trying to sell you more services. Okay, so here we are. We've bought the program, and the question is, now what? So I'm going to build this file on the premise of one building with 3 tenants. Okay, so we're going to have one building, and we will say we have apartment A, B, and C. So the first thing you would need to do is set up a correct income account for your 3 units. So from the home screen, click Accounting, Chart of Accounts. Click, see, for income, they just have sales. So we want to say rental income. And I'm going to just think it would be better to be a little specific just in case your LLC bought a second property. Usually LLCs keep one, but sometimes with 1031 exchanges and so forth, it's always better to be detailed in the beginning. Okay, so we're going to say rental income Main Street. Then we'll make 3 sub-accounts of Main Street. So up on the top right, click New. In order to make sub-accounts, they have to be this same detail type. Rental income Main Street, and we'll say apartment A. Save and new. Because I know I'm going to make 3. Apartment B. Look at that. I typed one out and then so I'll fix that. I don't like that. Apartment C. So let me fix those. Okay, so here we have apartment A, B, and C. So we have our rental income set up correctly. The next thing we would do is set up our tenants. So go to Sales, Customers, Add manually. Let's say they're just individual people. So Jane Smith. Here you could enter their email, their address, and then here in notes, you could say leased apartment A on 1/1/21, $1,200 per month. Expires 12/31/21. Okay. Okay. So we have one. Let's create the other 2. Click New Customer. Bob Jones. You could say he's apartment B. And you would keep your notes here. You could also attach things into the customer. So let me just write this down. I did 1,800 for Bob. Click Save. How much was Jane's? I think click Customer Details. Here in the notes, it says 1,200. And we need one more. Who do we have? Bob Jones, Jane Smith. Jim. Okay, and you can put their email in here. Okay, so now we have 3 customers. Honestly, another thing that I do a lot is sometimes I put their lease expiration in their name. It's a little hard though, because they're going to see it. But another way to do this, let's say, so it's 12/31/21, and you can have it say Bob Jones. Let's see if that shows up. Well, it does there. I don't know how many times I've had landlords, we go over their leases and they realize leases had expired 3 or 4 months ago. Okay, now you have your income, but now we need to make items so you could actually invoice your tenants. In the top right, there's a gear icon. Click that, click products and services. We're going to add 3 products, or service is fine, linked to each one of these individual revenue accounts. So apartment A, category. I don't think we need that. Okay, apartment A. So we're just going to leave it apartment A because it could constantly change. But apartment A, we said was $1,200. So we could put that in here for now. Okay, so that's one. The big thing is to make your product or service match the income account. So you have apartment B matching apartment B for income. Okay. And I don't seem to type these the same way, but you can do better. Okay. Okay, so now we have apartment B, ABC. Okay. So to me, the most important thing you're doing is making sure that you can send these people reminder emails. You can also let them pay via QuickBooks Online, and their payment you would have to sign up for the processing. It's like 50 cents or $1 if they only pay with bank fee. You would have to add it into the invoice if you wanted to add the surcharge for credit card discount. Okay. So the other thing I didn't do on these is I should have put the sales price. It makes it easier. So let's go back to B. I'll click edit. And here you can put in 1,800, and I think I said C was 1,500. Okay. So now on the left, click new. You're going to create an invoice. And I'm going to show you how to set these up to go for a whole year. Okay, we want to straight from QuickBooks, but also attach a PDF. That way it's easier. They'll get both just in case they don't want to pay through the QuickBooks payment system. Right now, we don't even have that. So we'll just say check, but you could sign up right here for credit card or debit card or bank transfer. I would suggest doing it. Just get paid faster. Okay, it's already wanting to do the payments. See how sneaky it is? So you have to go all the way down. You don't fill this out unless you want to sign up for credit card processing. Okay. Okay, the other thing though is we really do need to have, I'm going to put an email in all of these clients or tenants. Okay, so first thing you have to do to get these set up as like a memorized transaction so that the tenants would get these on the first of the month is go down here to create invoice. And you have to do one. So Bob, shoot. Which one is Bob in? Okay, Bob is in apartment B. You can do it right from here, new transaction, invoice. So here you're gonna have to pick apartment B. Apartment B was $1,800. So see how that already loaded in because we set that? Monthly rent. So let's say it's for January. Okay, you'll click customize. Oh, guys, this is why you need to go higher than the basic. I knew there was a reason. You cannot set up recurring transactions if you do it this way. Okay. Okay, so if you got as far as I did and decided you really want QuickBooks to automate things for you, which I think you should, you're gonna go over here to the right to the gear, accountant settings, click billing and subscription, and let's upgrade that plan. Because in Simple Start, you can't automate recurring transactions. So we'll go here and we'll upgrade to Essentials. Okay, so let's do that again. Bob is in apartment A. We're going to create an invoice. We're going to do it for the first. Now, since we're behind 2 months, I'll show you how we do it. Okay, so here's Bob. Down here at the bottom, click Make Recurring. We're going to automatically send emails. So it's February 28th. So tomorrow's March 1st. So we'll say the first one would be here. You could send it a couple days in advance, even though it'll be. And here's if you set up for online payments, card or bank transfer. Okay, so save template. Then you could go back to recurring. I screwed that up. So let me go to edit. It says the next day it's going to send is 3/1. And we really would say you would end after 3 occurrences. So it's going to be 10 occurrences because then you would need your new invoice with rent increase. Okay. So we're saying that save template, but I really need to make a February template invoice as well. So we'll go back to Bob. So I just did the template, which will happen in the future. So let me just make him 2 invoices for January and February. Apartment A, 1,200. Save and close. I'll show you another thing. If you need to make more, you could just open this one up again and click more, click copy. And you could put this one, it says it's a copy, make this one for 2/1. Okay, so Bob is current. His other invoice will be made tomorrow and it will be automatically emailed to him. So you click here, recurring, he's scheduled, his next date is 3/1. You can always click in here and edit it. I said 1 day in advance, but I'm doing that today, so it probably wouldn't happen until March 30th for the April. Okay, so then right here, it's going to be emailed. I just put in my email. You can also blind copy or copy yourself here. That way you know QuickBooks really sent them out. Here's another problem. This needs to be due on receipt because rent's due on the 1st. So fix that, then click save. So due on receipt, we need to go back. We need to set the terms for Bob. Okay, so click edit, payment and billing, terms. So everything we make for Bob should be due on receipt. And you would put in more of Bob's details. Okay, I'm gonna make the others and we'll move on to the next step. Okay, guys, I set up everybody and I invoiced each tenant. And you notice I still like how this says the date in his name, because then if you have multiple tenants, you could actually, it's easy to remind yourself that someone's renewing. Okay, next thing landlords would need to set up is sometimes you have individual utility bills for, let's say, the 3 apartments, especially when one goes vacant. You still need to track that. And I would have them split out. So to add more charts of accounts, chart of accounts is nothing advanced. All it is are the codes you post to regarding income and expense. So we broke out your income by apartment unit. So now we would take utilities and break that out the same. So go to accounting, chart of accounts. Let's see what they gave you to start with. Utilities. So I would just add on to this, okay? To go up to the top and click new. And it could be multiple things. Click expenses. Oh, one thing about adding the chart of accounts, you have to completely mimic what it is. So this is expenses, utilities. So anything we want to make a sub account under, we need to make sure it's exactly the same. Okay, so go back up to the top. New. Expenses. They have a utilities. We'll make it a sub account. And I would start it with apartment A, utilities, expense. Because you could have multiple things and it's easier if you just put expense in your name. Okay, so now we're going to do that again. Say apartment B. It's easier if you stay in this window. Okay, hit cancel. Let's go down and see what we have. Where did they go? So often you'll have to refresh. Okay, so we have A. I don't know why I did that. Let's take that. Maybe it's this. Okay, so ABC. So each time you wrote a check to the utility company or trash pickup or something, and if it's specific, then you can put it here. So I'd say one more, just let's say for the property in general, where you couldn't really allocate. You could just say building, utilities, general. Don't get too crazy with codes. You know, you could put anything in here that you had to pay for that was in a utility sense. Phone, trash, anything like that. So the only other thing I think you would really need to add, this says repairs and maintenance, you'll need that. And I'd probably put in a landscaping, common expense. And you just, when I create expenses in QuickBooks Online, I almost put everything to Office General. I don't go into any of these detail types. So we'll just put that. Let's just say that you have a multifamily house and landscaping is not going to be allocated. Okay, so we set up the tenants, we set up their items so that you could track that rental income individually, right? So, and we've set up some expense codes. The next thing we need to set up is a bank account. So again, go accounting, chart of accounts. We're going to need to add a bank. There's not one in here. That's what it wanted you to connect your bank. That's really for a more advanced user. Most people come to me after a year of playing with QuickBooks Online themselves, and they have so many issues from adding that bank. So I can't really add a bank here because there's, there's no such thing as a demo bank account. But if you'd like to connect your bank, you would go to, oh, this is so different, transactions, banking. And here you click connect account. It needs your username and your password. It'll often send you like a dual authentication code. I have plenty of videos out there on all the things not to do, because online banking connection is really good it's really more beneficial for like service businesses that have a heavy credit card use. I don't like to use the banking connection. Really, for most landlords we never connect the bank. I mean, because most things we should know about ahead of time. You're not really doing bookkeeping if you're just regurgitating what happened at the bank. The one thing it does help with is if you used a lot of debit card, but I don't recommend to any of my clients to use a debit card because I've seen so much fraud, and I've watched many clients' bank accounts get completely cleaned out. Especially a couple of years ago, there was the Target issue where someone had infiltrated and they stole all of the people who had used their credit card at Target. And I had multiple clients affected by that. So that's my little thought on debit cards. If you are using a credit card for different items on your property, make sure that credit card's in the name of the property or that LLC. That's something I would connect. But usually, once again, that's not normal in the land of landlords. Okay. So we now have a checking account. We have a couple expense codes. Most importantly, we have the income coming in broken out. And we have the expenses that you would normally have in a unit. Another thing that would probably be good to set up now is your security deposits payable. So those would be liability accounts. So let's click new. It's a current liability. I would not consider that a long-term. And I would make a parent tenant security deposits payable. Save and new, because we're going to make 3 sub-accounts. I would not name these. I would do it by the unit. Okay, so apartment, because this will come in and out as tenants leave. It's very good to make your name very descriptive so that if you or someone you hire to help you with QuickBooks, they will make less mistakes. See, I almost screwed it up. Okay, I'm not always consistent. Okay. Okay, I'm not in this video going to get into loans and that whole thing, but I will show you again how to set up an item for security deposits. I'll do it for one on video and I'll do the others. I'll pause. So again, for a refresher on this, click this gear icon, products and services. So now we have their rental piece, right? So now we need the security piece. So I'm going to start this one security because the other one starts apartment A. Apartment A. It's not an income account. We really need to go to we'll click this to A. And that amount could change. Okay, guys, so I set this up that you have A, B, and C for rental income, and here you have your security deposits. So the next thing we'll do, this is pretending like we have a perfect brand new building. I'm going to pretend there is no mortgage. I think I did a video on mortgages before. And And let's say that everybody moved in on January 1st. So we've got A at 1,200, B at 1,800, and C at 1,500. Okay, so let's just figure that everybody has to pay 1.5 months rent for their security. Okay, so we're going to need 1,800 security for A, and I'll figure these out and come back. Okay, I did the calculations. So now we'll go back to the customer. Once again, another thing I would say would be better here is Bob is in apartment B. So if you had a lot of these, I would maybe also put apartment B here. Because look how much easier it is when you're looking at this. Okay, I'm going to show you another thing, because I used to always do this for clients in desktop. Put that as the display name. These are tenants, they're not going to care that you have that description as part of their name. I mean, honestly, they're being lucky. It's lucky that you're even invoicing them. I don't believe that tenants should have to be invoiced, but this will make it easier for anyone working for you, that they can see who it is, they can see when the lease expires and what apartment they're in. Okay, so everybody has been invoiced January, February, but we also need to create the invoice for the security deposit. So I'm in apartment A, click new. We already made the item for security. Can't make an invoice without the item. Please don't make items on the fly, you will mess them up. Okay, so we have Jane Smith, apartment A, which makes this easier when I'm trying to find apartment A security. Here I'd probably put 1.5 times 1,200. So that's 1,800. I would not make these items have an amount because you'll screw it up later. Okay, and say that was for January 1st. We're not going to make this recurring. You would save and send it. But right now I'm just trying to get these in the system. Okay, so now she has two for the move-in date. And she could have possibly done this in December of 2020. So one of these is here's our security. The other two are the 2 months. Another thing I realized here is it's actually better, instead of doing it on the calculator like I was, is to just put in 1.5 and then the rental rate. I had the same price, but just in case. Okay, guys. So now here we have one invoice for security deposit, and here we have an invoice for rent. So let me teach you, let's pretend we're posting for January, even though it's the end of February now, and we want to post our payments from our tenants, okay? The easiest way, well, let's say for January, they gave you a check for $37.50. It could be inside the tenant, click new transaction, click payment. Let's pretend for now they paid you by check. Just put in 123, whatever the check number is. If you click it this way, it will add it up here. Okay, but let's say everybody paid you today and you're going to take all of the checks to the bank and do them in a batch. And I do have a video on undeposited funds, but click undeposited funds. And we're going to say this happened on the 1st. So you can't go to the bank on the 1st because they're all closed. So save it and close. So I'm going to go and receive payments from the other two tenants. Okay, so I've received all the payments for January. So the next thing I would do is I put all of those checks in undeposited funds. Undeposited funds, just like a holding place, so you can batch deposit checks. And if you receive rent checks all throughout the week and you only go to the bank once, you would put them in undeposited funds until the day you actually go to the bank. You would then choose them. That way you're not inflating your bank balance and you don't bounce something. So on the top left, click new, bank deposit. And here's the 3 payments I posted. This one I was a little lax, apparently. So make sure you have the 3 checks, $11,250. Banks close on the 1st, so we'll take it then. You can always print this deposit slip as well. Save and close. Okay, so what does that look like for a landlord? Now that we invoiced and they paid. So click a profit and loss. Choose January only. Choose cash. Most LLCs are on the cash basis. I'll teach you how to jump around, but normally cash. Okay, so see how nice this is? It said you received, this is your rent roll for your 3 units. And as you build this out, you could build it by months, and then you could spot your vacancies. I'm not going to build this out for a year. Oh, and don't shorten your years anymore. It'll put it to like the 1900s. Click display by months. Okay, so it's showing right here that you only have 1 month. But this is a great tip. Just always choose display by months. This is great for banks if you're trying to get refinance or something. This will show your rent roll, and it will show when these units increase in price. So if May is a renewal date and you did an increase, and maybe this went to 3,800, it'll show it here. So this is very helpful for financing activities and just to be able to run your buildings better. That's why you don't want to put everything in the blanket rental income thing. Take the time, make the items, make the extra account codes. You'll thank me later. Okay. All right. So the other thing, what happens with security deposits? I get this a lot. So let's run the balance sheet. QuickBooks Online always defaults to accrual, just so you know, and you can change the settings. It'll still show you every report in accrual. Accrual is what you invoiced, not what you received. It has nothing to do with what cash you received. It's just what you posted. If you're posting bills in here and managing that, which I'm not going to go over in this video, and when you invoice your tenants. So I'll show you that in a second. So right now it shows that you have 11,250 in your Chase checking. And look, I must have made a mistake here because I don't have tenancy. So hold on, let me go fix that. Okay, guys, this is why you run the reports is, look, I made security deposit C, but I checked rental income instead of security deposit. So that's why you want to run the reports a lot, so you pick something up right away. And if right here I can say update accounts historical transactions, this will fix the past. If you don't click this, that one invoice I made would stay in rental income. Okay, so now let's go back to the balance sheet, click reports. Balance sheet is just basically stating where your cash and your liabilities and your assets are at any given moment. Don't be afraid of the balance sheet. I have a video on, someone right off the street, how they would read one. So check that out so you understand it more. And don't let CPAs or other people make you feel inadequate regarding these financials. They're not that hard. Okay, so now here we have apartment A, B, and C. Okay, $6,750. You really should be keeping this money in a separate account. I'm going to keep it simple here right now, and it's all in this Chase checking, because they may have, let's say they wrote you one check for both pieces, right? So what I would do, you should have another account just for security deposits. Click new, bank, and you could say Chase security deposit. And it would probably be a savings account. So from here, we saw, I think it's 11,500. Oh no, it can't be that much. No, 6,750. So what would you do if everybody wrote you one check for both their first month's rent and their security deposit, and you have that? So you would just log into your online banking and make a transfer $6,750 to that account. So for that, you would just click new, never use transfer in QuickBooks Online. Okay, there's no payee because it's between your own accounts. Here's our banks. security, okay. Transfer of security deposits. And we could even say A, B, and C. But normally it would just be like 1. Okay, $67.50. Okay, so this is really good when you're tracking liabilities. So now here you have $67.50 in your bank account, and down here, look, you have $67.50. So this way, you know you won't spend your tenant security deposit. You're supposed to pay them the interest on each one of these accounts, and I've seen some clients where the bank will actually keep a separate account. They keep it by tenant. And then the measly amount of interest goes back to the tenant. Okay, so I've taught you how to create the items so you can invoice your tenants. I showed you how to break out your income so that you make sure you track your income by unit. And I showed you how to break out expenses and how to track those by unit. So any other type of expenses that you think you need to track by unit, just do what I showed you. Create a parent expense account, and then make subcodes per unit. And then actually add one more just for the building in general, because there will always be things that you can't allocate, okay? Don't make it too complicated and don't make too many codes. So the last thing I'm gonna teach you is, let's pretend now it's December or January of 2022 and someone's going to move out. I'm not going to factor in any interest toward the tenant. But let's say they moved out they didn't pay you December rent. Even though they're supposed to pay December rent, they're supposed to vacate, and they didn't, right? So they said, please use my security for my last month's rent. What do? Okay, so what you do is, and this is why we make the sub account, let's say it was tenant C. I'll show you a couple ways. But one way is go into the security deposit for C. I do not teach journal entries. We try and always work in a register. You will mess up a journal entry. Add a journal entry. So now we want to factor this in the month it happened. So we could say this person used security deposit for last month's rent. So now we're going to decrease our liability because we don't owe this to him anymore because he owed us for December rent, right? And then here I'm going to do rental income, and he is who? Who is Jim? C. Okay. So if he doesn't pay that, and then you do this journal entry, just void the invoice for December. So what does that look like then at the end of December? I'm not going to post all of this, but let's just run the P&L. I'll show you what that did. Okay, so it shows his $22.50, and that's from me doing that entry in the register. And then let's look at what it did on your balance sheet as of December. Your balance sheet went down, and tenant C no longer has the payable. The other way is, what if tenant B did everything right, paid through December, moved out, and now it's January 2022, and you need to pay back security. But what if they messed up the account and you're going to only give them $22,000, let's say. Okay, so they really made a mess. So who was tenant B? And that's why it's so good to have this here, so you don't have to base things on memory. So Bob Jones, right? So we're going to go up here. We're going to write a check. Bob Jones. Now see, look, it just picked this security deposit savings. You got to make sure you pick the right checking. 2/1/20. Make sure you do 2022. Security deposit B. Once again, it's much easier to cross-check. We got the name everywhere. Return of security less $700 for repairs. Okay, so we're giving $2,000 back. Save and close. Okay, but look, we still have a problem because it's going to show that there's $700 in this liability. What day did I do that? Okay, I didn't write it till February. Okay, so look, guys, $700. So you should, if you kept $700, really have $700 in expenses or something, right? If you're going to keep $700 worth. So you would go back to B. Let's say we're going to, it says, I said we're not doing journal entries. This is really transactional. This is not what a real journal entry looks like. Okay. So 2/28/2022. Reduce security deposit to 0. Amount used for repairs and maintenance. Spell that right? Okay. And then this is why I like to do it in the register. You know which way you need to go. So we need to decrease to 0. So we're going to use the decrease column, put in $700. And then here, click repairs and maintenance. Okay, but you really do have to actually pay for repairs and maintenance, because if you don't, 2/28/2022, gosh, okay. Look what'll happen. You have a negative here. So let's pretend though that you wrote a check to a painter. Really, maybe you paid him $850, but part of that was just general wear and tear and not something you withheld from the tenant. Okay, so what did that do to your profit and loss? Okay, so you had no income and you have a repair of 150 because you took away 850 is what you wrote, and you took 700 out of that security deposit. And this one is different than the other one where they used the last month rent, and that security deposit reversal actually created income for you. So those are two common ways of things that happen with tenants. So now if we run this 2/28/2022, you should only have one person left. The other two moved out. We'll start that whole process again. And this person has 1,800 in security deposit. But here's another thing that happens. You raise their rent, and thus you need to raise their security, right? So as the rent goes up, you should collect more for security. You don't want this to get out of line. So don't forget that. Okay, so you would just go, this is apartment A. So let's go to apartment A. Who's A? Jane. We're gonna see here, I can create her an invoice right through this. So now it's 1/31/20. No, it should be 1/1/2022. Security deposit apartment A. Increase in rent So let's say it's $150 times, so you can put it right here. So here I would put 150, that's a rent increase, right? So here would be 1.5 times 150 is 225. Okay, save and close. Let's just receive that from her. I didn't receive the other ones, but okay, 2022. This one we're going to put right into, since it's only for security deposit, we'll click right here, click save. So just really get familiar, always checking your balance sheet. Most of your numbers should never be negative on a balance sheet. So you should look at that all the time. And the only thing would be negative is accumulated depreciation. Okay, so now this deposit went up. And then if you're checking this all the time and you know you have a tenant in apartment B, then you know someone messed something up, right? So you should be watching this all the time and then checking this. See, here's another thing. Here's the new amount, but we used one of these. Okay, so another thing you would do is for the person who used that rent, you could take the money out of here in your checking account and send it, or I mean your savings account and send it back, right? So let's look at B. Tenant B. See, this is where I screwed up in this. That should not have been paid out of Chase checking. It should have been paid out of security. So by checking the balance sheet, you can see what's wrong. So now we had $700 that we reduced. So we need that $700 in our operating account because we had to pay the painter. So click new. Now, when I transfer between one bank account to another, I never choose check. I only choose expense. It's money from your bank account to your other bank account. There should not be a payee. And let's just make this 2/1/2022. And since the payment account is, we're picking, would leave security deposit, and then it would go to your Chase checking. Okay. Okay. So we just have one more to look at. We have 2025, but look, we still have this. So let me figure that out and I'll finish that up. Okay, guys, here's the other transaction register. Let me just show you how I got that. I went in here, it says 2000, wait, it was this one? No, I forgot it. Okay, so see how we have this one? We reduced the journal entry, we did the transaction because they use it for their last month. So again, we're just going to transfer 2,250 back into the operating account so that our bank account matches, our security deposit bank account matches our balance sheet. So again, click new and do these individually. Do not group a whole bunch. It's so much easier to find things if you do things transactionally. Okay. So again, it's going to leave the security deposit account and it's going to go back to your checking account. I think it was 20. Yeah. And right here, I think you would write apartment C used security deposit for last month's rent. And you would need this money because maybe you need that money as well to pay for your mortgage. You're counting on that monthly rent. Okay, so now let's run our balance sheet again. Here we have 2,725 in our savings. See, I think I didn't move the 700. Hold on. Okay, so here's the last piece of this. On this one, we gave $2,000 back to the tenant and we kept $700. And we posted this against repairs and maintenance. But the last step would be to actually give that $700 back to the operating account. Because in this scenario, we said we we're going to pay a painter. So again, you're going to do a transfer of $700. So it's going to leave it here. And we're going to pick our Chase checking again. I can't remember which account it was for at this point, so it's all theoretical. It's harder. Okay, so let's run our balance sheet a year later. Okay, so we have in our special savings account 2025, and that matches our security deposit payable of 2025. So those are the biggest things you're going to learn. I have plenty of videos on how to post expenses in QuickBooks Online and how to reconcile. You'll need to do that each month. But this is very specific to just landlords, how to invoice your tenants and how to handle that security deposit in the several different ways that it happens. I hope you found this helpful. Please post any comments or questions and I will be sure to answer and maybe make another video. Okay, thank you.